Hi, welcome to the EBnet conference, and thank you for joining me at the MOTSWEDI stand. In the next 8 minutes, please join me as we look at the future of the South African asset management industry, and we're also going to have a look at how agile asset managers will potentially hold the key to differentiated growth into the future. My name is Mark Davids, and I look after the distribution and investment strategy at MOTSWEDI. MOTSWEDI are a specialized asset management business. We focus on researching asset managers with a special focus on all transformed asset managers in South Africa. We assist our clients with quality information and developing relevant solutions to help them on their journey of transformation so that they can be more reflective of the demographics of South Africa. We do this in the form of specialized consulting. This is example helping asset owners with policies and strategies around Black asset managers and manager selection. We do this in the form of providing multi-managed solutions, which are made up of Black asset managers. We also do this in the form of targeted enterprise and supplier development spend directed at Black asset managers. So ladies and gentlemen, over the past few years, MOTSWEDI has spent a lot of time talking about the approximately 40 Black asset managers in South Africa in some detail. So today we're going to look at how we believe technology and the ability to be agile will shift the face of the asset management industry over the coming 20 years. So before we jump into that, let's just cast our minds back very quickly to think about how it is that we got here today. So many of you will remember about 20 years ago, some of the major themes that we saw unfolding in the asset management industry was the theme or the trend of the transition from defined benefit to defined contribution. And then also the transition from the large life co companies to the independent asset managers. And this trend, as we all know, helped create many of the household name asset managers that we know and love today. So of course, along the way, we as asset owners, we were not exactly always sure who were going to be the winners and who were going to be the losers. But what we did was we spent lots and lots of time analyzing these asset managers. So the question that we're asking here today is, are the winners of the last 20 years going to be the winners of the next 20 years? Perhaps, perhaps not. But what we would like to know is, which are the businesses that are going to be the ones eating their lunches? Which are the businesses that are going to be innovative? Which are the businesses that are going to be doing things so differently? Those are the businesses that really excite us. So let's take a quick look at what this industry looks like. And I think we've looked at this before, but let's just remind ourselves. Of course, the long-term savings and investment industry in South Africa, there's approximately 9 trillion Rand available in this industry. So let's take out the 3 trillion Rand from the Public Investment Corporation. I am using very round numbers, but let's just continue with the analogy. And that's 9 trillion. So the 3 trillion we're taking out, and the 6 trillion that remains, which is available for private asset managers to manage. So there's the retail component and the institutional component in that. In the institutional component, there's approximately 4 trillion. And what we've identified is within that 4 trillion, there's approximately 7% of it is managed by organically grown Black asset managers. Now, this for us is something that we've been monitoring very carefully over time. So what are the trends that we've seen over time that are potentially going to be shaping this asset management industry? So one of the first trends that we would like to have a quick look at, and unfortunately we're not going to spend too much time on it, but it is the trend in the change of behavior of asset allocators and savers as a result of the requirements introduced by the regulator. Here, we're talking about default annuitization. This is where the retail and institutional parts of large businesses like the life companies who have previously not worked together have to potentially start to find ways to work together to solve this problem, to deal with the same member. We're then also talking about the trend of member counseling for members leaving retirement funds. Here we're talking about non-advice and factual information been given to members. And then, of course, the Financial Sector Transformation Council. This is the retirement fund scorecard. This, in our observation, has got the potential to be a major influencing factor on the behavior, not only of the asset owners and the boards of trustees, but also members who are part of these organizations or part of these retirement funds. And this is, in our observation, how we see the retirement fund industry and the long-term savings and investment industry altering or changing in the future. The next trend I'd like to just talk about very quickly is the trend of BEE deals. Now, we've come across the concept of BEE deals before. It's not necessarily anything new. We've recently seen Sanlam enter into a deal which saw them become greater than 51% Black-owned. Prescient, they also went through a deal that saw them become majority Black-owned asset manager. But the deal I want to focus some attention on here for today is the deal or the merger between MOTSWEDI and Quanta. Now, most of us know the Quanta. Quanta are a business that has got over 215 billion in assets under management. They, in fact, went through a BE deal some time back, which saw them become greater than 51% Black-owned. But one of the issues that this business really struggled with was the issue of poor transformation at the higher senior levels of that business. They were not seen as an authentically transformed asset manager. Now, let's turn to MOTSWEDI for a second. MOTSWEDI, on the other hand, were a young Black-owned business. They started by several Black investment professionals who worked together at another previous large asset manager. And they grew this business from 0 to approximately 7 billion in assets under management in just about 4 years. Now, this is an outstanding achievement. And upon the merger, the Black investment professionals from MOTSWEDI were absorbed into Quanta at the very higher echelons of that business, at CIO level, at portfolio management level, at board level. Now, this transaction certainly helped Quanta in particular shake off some of that perception of being a business that is not authentically transformed. Now, this for us has been a significant change that we're seeing in the industry that will potentially start to see some significant shifts in the way asset management industry unfolds into the future. The next big trend we'd like to talk about very quickly is the trend of investments by large firms into technology within their businesses and also artificial intelligence. Now, one of the biggest risks for any large organization is the investment in the right technology at the right time. Now, we all know technology can be outdated very fast. And of course, it can even become outdated before we've had a chance to pay back the actual original investment into that technology. And how many times in our own careers have we seen major systems upgraded at the organizations where we've worked at, where the new system brings significant or no extra value relative to the system that it has replaced? Now, for us, that is something that we've observed and said this is a game changer for organizations that have got the ability to be agile. Let's think about the COVID-19 pandemic that struck in early 2020, where we saw hundreds of thousands of people changing their workspace from the traditional office workspace to an online digital workspace. Now, for many companies, this was a simple switch over from one to the other. But for many other companies, this was a painful process that they had to go through to actually upgrade and invest in technology to allow their staff to get into this digital this digital workspace. Now, the opportunity cost that came with that was tremendous. Now, let's also think about robo-advice. Now, this for us is something that a couple of years ago we thought that robo-advisors would take over the space of the IFAs. And what we've seen subsequently is that has not necessarily panned out the way we expected. Now, what we've realized is that there is still a space for the robo-advisor type of technology. But what is clear, and I think what we've all observed, is that we cannot underplay that human-to-human engagement. And that for us is the trend that we have identified is what is the ideal mix between that human and tech that allows that engagement to take place and is significantly beneficial to the human. Now, how does this relationship manifest itself over the coming years? From our perspective, we've seen many smaller asset management businesses who are potentially much more agile, getting their heads around this faster than the potential large asset managers. So I guess for now, what it means is that we're letting the machines do the heavy lifting in terms of the data scrubbing and all of that, but we're letting the humans make all of the interpretation and investment decisions based on those outcomes. And as I'm sure we all know, machines are already scraping the internet to identify the trends and patterns that we as users of the internet are inputting on a daily basis. And this allows the asset managers who are already using this information to make better decisions, to make faster decisions. And this is where that edge in technology is really coming into its own. These are the asset managers, in our observation, that will be in a very good position to observe the other unfolding trend, which we've certainly seen, and that is the trend of the African middle-class consumer. We believe that this consumer has been in a very difficult space for the past 10 years, but we're starting to see green shoots of recovery. And how many businesses have identified and developed innovative ways of introducing the idea of shared value in a way that allows them to grow along with this trend that we've identified. So ladies and gentlemen, with that, I will say thank you very much for joining me on this very brief discussion around technology, this very brief discussion around the unfolding landscape of the asset management industry over the coming years. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any comments or questions. We'd love to speak to you. Please enjoy the rest of your conference. Goodbye.